Mother-in-law falsely accuses father-in-law on our wedding day, then was removed from the venue after insulting me for my health issues. For context, my mother-in-law left her sons, then got divorced from my father-in-law when my husband and his brother were very young, and they lived almost full-time with their dad. Their mom bounced around all over the place and was in and out of their lives until they were teenagers and she met her now husband, which is when she finally stopped being verbally and physically her brr. They didn't particularly enjoy their time with their mom. She often talks about their dad and makes up stories to try and gain sympathy. My husband, 28, and I have only seen her about 20 times or so in the last 7 years we've been together. She's hard to be around for a list of reasons boiling down to she's very negative and she's great at twisting stories, especially stories from the past. Before our wedding, I was getting ready in the bridal suite with my bridesmaids and the other family members when my mother-in-law waltzed in. She said she wanted to hang out with me before the ceremony, so I sat down and talked to her for a minute. When mother-in-law was done going on about how excited she was for her big day too, she praised her boys for becoming the men they are today and said that she raised them right and was happy they turned out so well despite their dads towards her and them. I was so dumbfounded, I just meekly said, "Excuse me." She said, "Oh, you didn't know that?" Like a teenage mean girl gloating to her ex-best friend that the boy she likes is going to prom with her instead. To clarify, my father-in-law never hurt anyone, let alone his ex-wife and sons. When mother-in-law said the harush toward her and the boys was the reason she left, that she didn't want her boys to be around that, I had enough. Her lies were getting so big she wasn't even able to follow logic anymore to make it make sense. I stopped her and said I was sorry for what she went through, but asked if we could talk about it later because I only wanted to talk about happy things that day. She says she understood that, but she felt like she needed to warn me before I officially started calling them family, and that I should be careful about what I believe because
my boys make up lies about me and were brainwashed by their dad.
Interesting that she chose your wedding day to come and warn you about these things. What does she want you to do? Just leave? I told mother-in-law I'm sorry, but I wasn't comfortable with the conversation and tried to end things there. But mother-in-law wouldn't let me go. She talked about how she used to be close with my husband's ex and she wanted us to be like that. My sister couldn't hear any more of this, so she walked over and told me we needed to finish getting ready and suggested that mother-in-law go visit her son in the groom's quarters. Mother-in-law insisted she would rather stay. I told her I really appreciated spending time with her before the wedding, but I wanted to spend some time alone with just my family and my bridesmaids to finish getting ready. And I'm sure my husband would like to see her too. Mother-in-law looked at me like I had just spit in her face and offended her entire ancestral line. I unknowingly opened her floodgates of fury. She accused me of poisoning her son against her, that I'm the reason he never visits or calls. I said that's not how my husband and I see it, and we could all talk about that later, but I would really appreciate it if she left the bridal suite for now. Mother-in-law went on about how messed up it is that I'm stopping a son from seeing his mother, and I'm an insult to women for treating her this way, especially since she was a victim. My sister called her horrible for saying such terrible and inappropriate things and said no one believes her lies. The room went dead silent. Mother-in-law accused me of talking about her to my family, but I was done holding my tongue. I told mother-in-law it's not that I don't believe her, it's that I didn't want to be standing in our wedding venue in my wedding dress speaking ill of my father-in-law. I wanted this to be a happy day, but I was starting to get upset and I wanted her to leave the bridal suite for now. She was still accusing me of alienating her son against her when my husband and brother-in-law walked through the door with a bridesmaid who had left to get them. I was so relieved to see my husband. I didn't even care about the fact that our first look picture was now ruined. He asked what was going on, so mother-in-law turned on the crocodile tears and said she didn't know how things escalated so much. Classic playing the victim. She was only trying to have an honest talk with me, and the next thing she knew, I was trying to kick her out of the wedding. She said, "I'm so sorry, honey, but I just feel like I'm always being excluded from things and I just couldn't take that from her, not today." I reassured him I was not trying to kick her out of the wedding. I only asked her if she would leave the bridal suite while I was getting ready because I was feeling uncomfortable with the topic she was discussing, and she wasn't dropping it like I asked. I was in near tears from the situation and my anxiety, so my husband asked what exactly made me so upset. I told him I didn't want to talk about it right now. My husband asked his mom to apologize to me for now, and she said she would after I apologized to her first. For what? I told her I was sorry she was hurting, but that's all I was going to apologize for now. She briefly reverted back to her toddler days, waving her arms around in a temper tantrum.
Do you see how rude and disrespectful she is to me? Your dad and her turned you both against me.
My brother-in-law cut her off, asking what their dad has to do with this. My sister said that he didn't want to know, and she didn't even want to repeat the things she said about him. My husband asked if that's what upset me, and mother-in-law insisted she felt she had to warn me about him before we had any kids. My husband said that was ridiculous because no one's talked to her about having kids yet. She said she knew my health issues would make it hard for me to get pregnant. Absolutely not! And maybe that's a sign I wasn't meant to become a mom because I would be a horrible mom after the way I treated her. And if it turns out I'm barren, she hopes my husband will take a step back to look at all the other red flags he ignored. My husband said the only red flags he ignored were hers, and that stops today. He chewed her out for insulting me and trying to use my health issues against me. He called her out for her negative comments and selfish and manipulative behavior and said that's why they don't make more of an effort. It was all I could do to try to hide my smile when he told her he wasn't going to let her try to rewrite history anymore. She was like a deer caught in headlights, but her surprised Pikachu face quickly dropped when my husband told her if our wedding day wasn't important enough for her to keep her comments to herself for once, then he didn't want her at that wedding anymore. The magma that was building inside my mother-in-law's volcano finally erupted. She yelled,
"No, we couldn't do this to her, that she deserves to be here."
She cried about how unfair this was and she didn't want to miss our big day, that it'll be one more thing she's excluded from and she just can't take it. Okay, well, if you don't want to be excluded from things, maybe you need to listen to other people when they're telling you they don't like your behavior. She tried saying again she has nothing but good intentions and she couldn't believe this was happening. But my brother-in-law wasn't having any of it. He said it was clear that she wanted to make a big scene to show us how upset she was, so she would stop everything and dote on her. All she did was remind us why we don't pick up the phone and make more of an effort. My husband and brother-in-law never stand up to their mom because she lives far enough away and we only see her a few times a year. They never really set any boundaries with her. They find it easier to deal with her toxic behavior in the moment and just move on. So witnessing all of this was like a beautiful Haley's Comet for me. When mother-in-law said she wasn't leaving until they worked it out, my sister opened the door connecting the venue to the bridal suite and stepped away to make room for 2 security guards to show up. I smiled and winked at my sister, who gave me a thumbs up. Mother-in-law was still crying and begging my husband to let her stay, but he said the damage had been done. She turned to the security guards and said they couldn't kick her out because she's the mother of the groom. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. My husband corrected her and asked her to leave. Security asked her to go with them and she gave us all dirty looks, then started hyperventilating her protests. My husband asked her to please leave again and told her that he'd give her a call after some time. She gave my husband one last dirty look and said he'd regret this before finally walking out with security. I know this was long. If you're still here, thank you for reading it through. My husband and I are going to take some time before he reaches out to her. I'm really on the fence if I even want a relationship with her after all that. Would you leave the door open for her or try to work it out? Or would you steer clear of her altogether? I think that this was a very heightened situation. It might be worth talking to her once everything has calmed down and you could give her like a chance to apologize, but I wouldn't hold your breath. I wouldn't hold your breath. Ooh, something tells me there's a part 2, my friends. Let's look at the update.